Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
It's so funny because I say this to parents all the time when they say, oh, my kids are driving me up the wall. I keep on saying connection's the answer. Connection's the currency of relationships. Kids spell love T-I-M-E.
And now here's the stars of our show, my mum and dad.
Good morning. This is Dr. Justin Coulson, the author of 6 books about raising happy families and the founder of happyfamilies.com.au. Forgive me for sounding distracted then, but my wife, Kylie, mum to our 6 daughters, sitting opposite me, is pulling faces at me and trying to stick her tongue out of her mouth as far as she can, like she's going to... Don't put it up your nose. That's gross, Kylie. Don't. Come on.
Oh, you're hilarious.
I love Fridays. I feel like we can finally relax. The weekend's nearly here. If you're in lockdown in any of the places where these things keep on happening, we are with you in spirit, and we hope that our podcast helps you to make your family happier.
Or just make you laugh, if nothing else.
Yeah. So every Friday we do this thing called I'll Do Better Tomorrow. Today, no exception. But I want to start by just emphasising I'll Do Better Tomorrow is about being intentional about our parenting so that we can be better next time, tomorrow. Next time we're confronted with challenges, that we can do better than we did today, or acknowledging, hey, I did really well, and if I keep doing it like this, I'm going to keep doing it better and better and better. But really what I'll Do Better Tomorrow is about is celebrating great parenting and celebrating awesome kids, awesome families. Last week for I'll Do Better Tomorrow, we talked about Ash Barty and her family and that beautiful tribute from Yelena Dokic. And today, because you know that I love sport, I found another awesome little piece. This was Jacob Townsend. Jacob Townsend is a Gold Coast Suns AFL player. Now, you don't have to like AFL to find some value in this. Jacob has a stutter. He's a professional athlete and he has a stutter. And I don't know if I can think of anything more challenging, more terrifying than having to stand on the side of the field at the end of a game and do a post-match interview on national television for a reporter. This is what happened for Jacob Townsend.
Let's go back down to Cav.
Jacob, you got your whole team watching on here. 2 goals in a win. How's that for your club debut?
Yeah, obviously, feeling pretty good at the moment. Thought I was come in and try and play my role, and we've had a tough week. Obviously, last week wasn't what we wanted to put out there. So we had a tough week on the training track, and we wanted to come in here with a pretty good win, and I felt that we did that.
Just finally, how satisfying to repay Coach Stuart Dews. Been under a bit of pressure lately.
Yeah, you're right. He's been on the pump, and he sort of hasn't had much to do with our performances at all us out there. So, yeah, as I said, we had a focus of coming out here and having a win, and thank God we did that. So it was good.
Go and celebrate. Let's go back down to Cav.
I don't think that I've ever heard an interview with anyone with a stutter.
No, nor have I. It's literally the first time I've seen it on TV in any context, let alone after a sporting contest.
And what I love about this is in a world where we're all about perfection, we're all about smoothing over all of the
rough edges,
and presenting this perfect image, is here's this kid. Well, he's not really a kid.
No, he's a young man. He's a young adult.
He's still young. And he was able to stand up there with so much confidence. As I watched it, that's what I saw. I saw a kid with confidence and an ability to just say things in spite of his stutter.
Yeah. And for those of you who couldn't, obviously, you're only hearing the audio, the way he stood and held himself, his posture, the way he demonstrated his character through that conversation, it's only 45 seconds. He nailed it. And I watched that interview and thought, we've got to share that. For any parent who's got a child who lacks confidence, for any parent who's got a child who has a stutter or is on the autism spectrum or has ADHD or who is shy and introverted and quiet and scared, I think that this is just a powerful example of a young man being confident and brilliant.
It makes me wonder what his parents were like, how they helped shape him and his character and his confidence to just be him and be okay with who he is. I love it.
Anything else about it that stand out to you?
It actually reminded me of a conversation we had a few weeks ago from our movie extravaganza.
those amazing podcasts that JR just made us sound so good.
Well, it reminded me of Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
And we had that conversation about Nemo, and here he is, and he's not like everybody else. And his challenges could actually hinder him from being like everybody else and achieving what everybody else did. And his dad was so intent on keeping him close.
Protecting him, yeah.
But in an effort to show the world and to show him his dad that he could do something, he achieved something amazing. I'm going to make an assumption that his parents have a lot to do with his capacity to be able to stand there with such confidence.
Yeah, I hope so. I do want to point out that Finding Nemo isn't real. That Nemo didn't actually change the world or anything. It's just a movie.
Really?
Yep. But Jacob Townsend's story is true, and I like it more because of that. Now, I'll Do Better Tomorrow is what we do every Friday, and I just thought that was a really nice, inspiring way to start a Friday, to highlight no matter where your kids are, no matter what they're up to, no matter the challenges that you face, they can do hard things. So let's have a look at I'll Do Better Tomorrow. Every Friday we talk about moments that we got wrong and how we can improve, or moments that we got right so that we can try to do them more often and make our parenting more intentional. I might go first because my one's a quick one, unless yours is quick as well.
No, you go. Come on.
All right. So the last few days I've been having really big connection challenges with one of the kids. Like really, every time she looks at me, it's like she wants to scream at me. I don't think I've actually done anything. But it got me thinking about the whole relationship bucket thing, right? So your relationship with your child is a bucket, and you either have water or air in the bucket. The water is connection, the air is correction and direction. And I started to think, maybe I'm just telling her what to do too much. The penny dropped when she looked at me and yelled, "Stop telling me what to do." I was like, "I don't tell you what to do all the time." And she was like, "Yes, you do. You tell me what to do all the time." I thought maybe I need to get a bit more water in that relationship bucket, a bit more connection going in there. And so just yesterday morning, I went in to wake her up first thing, laid down on the bed, gave her big cuddles, and just said to her, "I haven't spent lots of fun time with you for a while because I've been so busy with work." And she kind of looked at me funny, and I said, "After school today, would you like to have some special time just with Dad?" The rest of the morning, she was a dream. She got ready for school. She ate her breakfast. She participated in our family time. She was out the door on time with you. She had her uniform, like everything. Amazing. And then when she came home from school, you and I had a couple of things to take care of. She didn't win. She didn't complain. She just went and looked after herself because she knew that I was going to make good on the promise. And it's like having a different child. And it's so funny because I say this to parents all the time when they say, "Oh, my kids are driving me up the wall." I keep on saying connection's the answer. Connection's the currency of relationships. Kids spell love T-I-M-E. Like it's my central message of everything that I talk about. And yet here I am with a kid who's driving me crazy. And then I'm like, oh, she's telling me that there's too much correction and direction, not enough connection. So I focus on connection. And guess what? She's a dream. Solves every problem. That's my I'll Do Better Tomorrow. It's kids spell love T-I-M-E. And I had to have that experience so that I could remember.
Well, I'll share my experience after the break.
It's the Happy Families Podcast.
Are screens creating tension at home? Tweens, Teens and Screens is a webinar to guide families to healthy, safe super screen solutions. Buy it today at happyfamilies.com.au/shop.
It's the Happy Families Podcast, the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now. And today we're talking about our reflections on the week that's been.
It's called I'll Do Better Tomorrow. For mine, it was kids spell love T-I-M-E. And if your children are driving you bonkers, spend some time with them. Let's hear your one, Kylie.
Well, this week we started book club up again for this term.
Okay, so book club, I always interrupt you when you say this because we need to let you know. If you are a Happy Families member, if you're part of our Happy Families membership, we do book club once a term. 4 weeks, spend 4 weeks basically diving into one of my books and helping you to make your family happier because of the stuff that's in the book. And you run book club for our Happy Families members.
Only because I haven't read your books and this is the way you get me to read them.
Yes.
But this one is Misconnection. We're focused on your book about teenage girls.
Yeah, why your teenage daughter hates you, in inverted commas, expects the world and needs to talk.
So the other night we actually started at chapter 2. It says, "You just don't get me. And I don't get me either." That's the title of your chapter. And in there you talk about this concept of not understanding our teenagers, but our teenagers not even understanding themselves and the challenge that comes as a result of trying to connect with them. But you highlight 3 psychological needs.
Yep.
Connection, competence and autonomy.
Okay, so the official word is relatedness, competence and autonomy. But yeah, it's about the connection. Yeah.
Yeah. I like connection.
That's fine. It's the scholar in me. We've got to be precise, but yes.
And so we had a conversation around this idea of, in order for us to have influence in our children's lives, and specifically we're talking about teenagers based on your book, we actually need to do the one thing we don't want to do, and we need to let go. And it's through letting go and actually allowing our children some autonomy that we gain an opportunity for influence in their lives.
It's a tremendous paradox that as we give power away, we become more powerful. As we say, what do you think? They're more inclined to look at us and say, well, this is what I think. How do you feel about that? Like, I'm interested now in my parents' opinion. How ironic.
So the reason I was sharing all of that is because we've had an experience in our home recently, which has really highlighted the importance of those three major needs in our children's lives. One of our children broke up with her boyfriend.
10 months.
10 months is a pretty big deal when you're that age.
So we can definitely say that it wasn't our 7-year-old.
So over the months that we've gotten to know her boyfriend, and we've watched the way they've interacted with each other and the conversations that they're having, and we've been able to see the way our daughter acts, we've had some concerns. Not that he's not a good guy. He's actually a great kid.
I was going to say he is a great kid.
But they're not particularly compatible.
Yeah. I wouldn't say that I would put them together and argue that this was going to be long-term successful. And parents, you kind of look at your kids and you get that sense, right?
Yeah, and I think they're not necessarily good for each other. It's not one way. And so we've had some conversations with her over the months, and we've talked about things with her, but we've given her absolute autonomy. Yeah,
we've never said you need to break up. In fact, to the contrary, we've said we're sharing this with you, but we hope that as a result of this conversation, you don't break up. We just want you to ponder the things that we're considering and consider whether for yourself they're right or wrong.
And so over the last few months, she's actually broken up with him once or twice before, but she's always gone back to him.
Within an hour.
Yes. And it's been very traumatic each time. But this last time she came to us and we kind of shared with her some thoughts that we were having, and she sat there and she listened. And about an hour later, we went into her bedroom and she was sobbing. She was having a really, really hard time, and she decided, based on the conversation that we'd had with her and the thoughts that she'd been having, which evoked the conversation in the first place, that this wasn't the right thing for her. The hard thing for her was that she loves him, and she loves him deeply, and it hurt a lot.
Do you remember breaking up with your first serious crush?
I didn't have one. You didn't break up with me.
No, you're so good. I remember a couple of my breakups, and they were heart-rending. For a teenager, those emotions are so big, and she was sobbing.
She was devastated, and for 3 days she looked like a ghost. She just
wouldn't eat, couldn't sleep, handed us the phone and said, I don't want my phone because I'm going to call him and I'm going to put our relationship back on, and I know that it's not what I should do, so just look after my phone. We didn't take it off her. She voluntarily surrendered it so that she wouldn't do something she'd regret.
And in a quiet moment, she just came to me and she said, Mum, I'm so glad that you had that conversation with me. She said, this has been one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. She said, but just to know you've got my back and that you understand, and that in spite of how hard the conversation was to have, how important it was for me to have that conversation with you. I was so proud of her. And the thing that stood out to me out of all of this was, we're 2 weeks down the track now.
Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks.
Her best friend is her ex-boyfriend and his friends. They're a fivesome. There's 4 boys and our daughter, and they are best friends.
Yeah.
And at no point through this process has there been any unkind words spoken. There has been no friendships lost, and everyone has just got on with it. I'm really blown away with the maturity that not only did our daughter have to go through this process knowing how much it hurt and how much it continued to hurt, but that each of the other boys involved in the situation,
including the ex-boyfriend,
could do the same.
Yeah. There's been I don't know too many adults that can do it. And these kids have done it really well. So the take-home message with the daughter's breakup story and the maintenance of a good relationship in spite of it is?
There's 3 psychological needs. All of our children have them. They want connection.
Yep.
If we can maintain that connection with them, then we've got opportunities for influence. They need to feel competent. They need to feel capable of making their own choices, and that they can make good choices. And we've allowed her to do that the whole way through. in spite of the fact that we might have had our own reservations. And lastly, the autonomy to make those decisions.
Which is the hardest part on our part, to not step in and control and say, here's what you need to do. At every step of the way, we've said, now that we've had a chat about it, go away and think about it, and you decide where to go from here.
She has for 10 months. She's decided that we didn't know anything.
Yeah, and then she turned around and did that. But I mean, let's also give credit to his parents. They've raised a boy who, instead of becoming vitriolic and nasty and saying awful things or spreading rumours about our daughter, he's just said, okay, well, I accept that. If the relationship was to continue now, it would be non-consensual. It would be a horrible relationship. But I really cared for this person, and I'm going to continue to care for her even though we're not in a romantic relationship anymore. Yeah, nice story. Thanks for sharing that. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. We really hope you get something out of these stories that we share on a Friday with I'll Do Better Tomorrow. We certainly try not to just turn it into a story, but let you know that there's psychology behind it, or there's principles that can help us to get our relationships right with our kids. If you would like more info about how to get those principles working in your life, how to build a flourishing, thriving family, we'd love it if you'd check out the Happy Families memberships. More and more people are joining the family every day, making their family happier and giving raving positive feedback about how these memberships are changing their family for the better. You can get all the information at happyfamilies.com.au.